in high definition, 1 hour earlier. This is Fox Wilmington News at 10.
Making port, a cruise ship stranded for days at sea without electricity is nearing the end of the line. Plus, snowy speculation. 3 years ago, we saw snow on the ground. Could we see that again this week? We'll get to those stories and more. But first, John joins us live from the newsroom with some breaking news for us. John?
All right, Michelle, we have followed the developments in the Christopher Dorner story from all the way across the country. Many of the developments, many of the facts, really too hard to believe. Well, tonight, not long ago, we got new details in the Christopher Dorner investigation, and now investigators are saying that the remains found in the charred cabin in Big Bear, California, are those of Christopher Dorner. They say dental records confirmed his death. Dorner killed one deputy and wounded another in a shootout in Big Bear before barricading himself in that cabin. That cabin then caught fire. Police, though, have not said exactly how Dorner died. That's the latest on that story, and we are following another story that is happening right now. Michelle? That's
right, John. The Triumph cruise ship is less than a mile from the cruise terminal tonight. Roughly 4,000 passengers have been stuck on this powerless cruise ship for days now. So we are hearing that this could arrive any minute now. The trip has been anything but relaxing. You are getting a live look from Mobile, Alabama. We know that a small fire in the engine put the Triumph in a blackout on Sunday. Since then, passengers on board have complained about the conditions on board, but their return hopefully should be a happy one on Valentine's Day night. There is there are blankets, warm food, cell phones waiting for all of them, and tomorrow the ship will be taken to a nearby repair facility to be looked at. But again, more than 4,200 people on that cruise ship being towed. There was a snag earlier in the tow line as well that caused about a 4-hour delay. So a lot of people are ready to come home. We know that the bathrooms have not been working properly on and off there, so a lot of people ready to get off that ship. In the meantime, a woman in Hampstead is speaking out tonight and thanking those who helped to save her from her burning home. Now, when Judy Hinnett's trailer caught on fire earlier this month, she was sleeping in her bedroom. Firefighters broke through the window and pulled her to safety. We know that she was sent to Chapel Hill to be treated for smoke inhalation, and now that she's back, she says she wants everyone to know just how grateful she is.
People should understand everything that they have done has not only given me life, but has also given life to my family.
For now, Hinnett and her husband are living with her parents as they try to figure out what to do next. The fire department says they were not able to determine a cause of the fire. They just know it started in the kitchen.
All right, we're watching the temperatures drop tonight. We expect a pretty mild day for tomorrow, but I have been analyzing the data all night for what could be potentially wintry weather for Saturday. Let's start with what happens tonight, though. Temperatures have cooled down, especially in the interior, where we've already got the 30s showing up. That is where the clouds are starting to move out. We're starting to see the clearing begin to take place from west to east. That will continue. Look at the rest of the state. Those clear skies are coming, but there are some clouds rolling out of Georgia as well. They're going to skim along the Carolina coastline. Our forecast for tonight, 35, mostly clear skies. Again, once we move this out of here, expecting plenty of clear skies for the inland counties. Day part forecast for tomorrow, lots of sunshine. We move the temperature way up into the mid 60s with all that sunshine. And then we watch the development of this system as it moves into the Carolinas. Will we see wintry weather? I'm going to answer that question and talk about the scenarios as they unfold coming up. John?
Rob, thanks. Now, this is new at 10 o'clock tonight. Leon Panetta may not be leaving the Pentagon as soon as he thought. Republicans have held up the nomination of Chuck Hagel to be new defense secretary. So Panetta says he'll stay in the office until a nominee is sworn in. Senate Republicans first want answers on the president's actions following the Benghazi attack last September. Another vote on Hagel's nomination is set for later this month. The state Senate in Illinois tonight approved a bill to legalize gay marriage. The bill lifting the ban on same-sex marriage now goes to that state's House, where Democrats also hold the majority. The governor, Pat Quinn, says he will sign the bill if the House approves it. Religious organizations say they oppose the bill, believing they'll be forced to allow same-sex wedding ceremonies in their buildings.
A Valentine's Day ban at one Florida high school is breaking the hearts of some students and their parents. Parents were told it is simply too disruptive for students to bring in flowers and other Valentine-type gifts to school. District officials there say deliveries were also discouraged. Students who brought gifts to school were required to leave them with administrators and pick them up at the end of the day. Well, after a lot of attention from the film industry last summer, leaders in Southport talked about possibly making changes to the town's policy.
Now, they want to look at what they need to do to possibly bring more projects to the area, or in case more projects come to the area. And it turns out another one is coming. News at 10 reporter Ashley Kosakowski live now with those new details tonight. Ashley?
Yeah, well, tonight we did learn that Under the Dome, that CBS series, will be filming actually right here at Town Hall. Now, the Board of Aldermen just finished up meeting here, and they talked about the film ordinance that they have in place. They decided not to make any changes to it tonight. It was something that a lot of people here have been talking about, a lot of passionate people on this subject. Now, some neighbors didn't want to see changes to the film ordinance or film restrictions because they want films to continue to come here. Others wanted to see more restrictions. Now, one neighbor spoke to the board. He lives along Brunswick Street, and he talked about Safe Haven. He said the production kept him up at night. He talked about how they set off fireworks 5 nights in a row after 11 p.m. each night, and he wanted to see something done tonight to prevent this from happening again. But Toby Bronstein, she told us she wanted to see more guidelines put into place, those guidelines that would give the city manager the power to approve or reject a production's plans.
It's very disappointing. It's very disappointing. I'd really hoped that the aldermen would embrace film production in Southport and welcome it as opposed to further restrict it. So I have some concerns.
Now, some say that the ordinance that is in place right now is too restrictive. Others say it needs changes. Either way, the aldermen decided not to do anything with it tonight. They said they will review this again in a year. Reporting in Southport, I'm Ashley Kosakowski, Fox Wilmington, News at 10.
All right, thanks, Ashley. Now back to the breaking news that we told you about at the top of this newscast. The Triumph has now docked.
Yeah, let's take you back to those live pictures from our CNN affiliates in Mobile, Alabama. The ship arrived at the port in Mobile. And of course, this trip has been anything but smooth sailing for the thousands of passengers and crew members on board. A small fire in the engine room put the Triumph on a blackout Sunday, and they haven't had power since. Passengers on board complaining about conditions, but their return should be a happy one. Warm food, blankets, cell phones, all waiting for them. Carnival Cruise Line says they'll all get their money back for this cruise and credit for another one, along with a free plane ride home. More details on that homecoming as that develops in Mobile, Alabama.
We've heard reports of them having, like crab and lobster for lunch, and, they've been fed well, and the crew's been working 24 hours a day, at least the reports that we're getting. But again, the bathrooms have not been working on and off. So the question is, what do you do when you go home? Do you call your lawyer or do you get a shower? What do you do first?
I think a shower and then think about what you want to do next.
Yeah, well, everyone's home, so or getting there, so that's good news there. Now ahead tonight at 10, a new taco treat for fans of Doritos Locos when you see a cool ranch version coming up.
And a billboard that some say is too sexy. The people behind the idea say it's working. Those details when we come back on Fox Wilmington News at 10.
You're watching Fox Wilmington News at 10, 1 hour earlier.
Police in Europe have arrested 3 men for their part in a horse meat scandal. The arrests come after an inspection of 2 plants earlier this week. The men worked at Farm Box Meats, that's in Wales, and also in a slaughterhouse in West Yorkshire. 6 horses tested positive for painkillers, and the horse meat, tainted with the medicine, may have been sold to customers, they say, for some time. Wow. Now to something people actually want to eat, Cool Ranch Doritos. Taco Bell will roll out the options sometime next month. Last year, the fast food chain launched the wildly successful nacho cheese flavored Doritos taco. It became the company's most successful product after selling more than 350 million around the world.
All right, listen to this. A controversial billboard is turning some heads in Chicago. The billboard for ArrangementFinders.com contains a sexually suggestive message and a picture of a former porn star there. The website promises mutually beneficial arrangements for users. As you can imagine, there have been some complaints, but the website claims that the message is just a play on words about the city's high unemployment rate, and the company claims that its Chicago subscriber base doubled the day that billboard went up. As we continue here on Fox Wilmington News at 10, maybe a chance of snow.
Yeah, First Alert meteorologist Rob Ellis has been keeping an eye on things, kind of tweaking the forecast here or there, and he's saying now that the chances are looking better and better and better. And his forecast is better and better and better. And it's coming up after the break.
Voted Best Weathercaster of the Year, here is First Alert meteorologist Rob Ellis.
Well, watching every little detail in the forecast now, because any little change will really determine what's going to happen on Saturday. And Saturday is the day that we're watching very carefully for that possibility of winter weather. We'll get there in just a moment. Let's talk about tonight and tomorrow, because we still got one more day and the rest of this work week. 38 for Fayetteville, currently 42 in Wilmington. Really a mix of 30s and 40s, depending on where you are. We have had those clouds in the eastern part of the state, although most of these have been in the mid and upper levels, so they haven't really caused too many problems of concern for the temperature forecast. But once we get those out of here, we will have clear skies for the entire state, and that will allow those temperatures to cool down, likely into the mid-30s for tonight. Already seeing some pretty chilly numbers here for northern Bladen County, Lumberton at 39, 40 for Clarkton and Wythel. You even see a good bit of variability along the Brunswick County coastline here, from 39 to Supply to 50 for the Ocean Crest Pier. So 11 degrees of difference there, just over a short area. Same thing along the coast here, Wrightsville Beach at 48, but much cooler once you head inland, 42 at the airport, and we'll get those numbers down into the 30s once we head into Duplin and Onslow County. Now, tonight getting down to around 35, much cooler inland, a little bit warmer along the coast. For tomorrow, we kind of do the opposite of that. Beaches a little bit cooler, 61, 64 for Wilmington. Should be a very pleasant day and a little bit warmer than the seasonal average for this time of year. So looking pretty good for your Friday. Then as we watch what happens into Saturday, things get a little bit more interesting. Now, we do clear things out. We're watching this next system that the upper levels are driving it. So the trough is going to be moving on in here, and that will help to cause a little disturbance along the coast. The question has been, and it has always been, will we have the moisture in place at the same time as the cold air? Earlier, the model said there's going to be no moisture. Well, now the models say, yeah, there's going to be some moisture, but it may not necessarily come at the right time. In other words, Friday, while we look clear and we expect to cool down Friday night, by the time we get into Saturday, some of the moisture may already be in place, but the cold air hasn't quite gotten here yet. In fact, watch as we go through time. Model now showing all of this as rain, meaning the moisture is there, but there's still a little bit of time before the cold air arrives. Once the cold air finally does begin to sneak in, it switches some of this over to snow. Now, I think this model is not cold enough. So earlier in the day, we showed you a pretty snowy version of this. I think we're going to split the difference somewhere and go with the possibility of some flurries, maybe even a little wintry mix late Saturday night and into Sunday. I still think that possibility for some snowflakes to fly is there. If you buy into our local model here, that's the snowfall hour-by-hour forecast. Most of that will fall in eastern North Carolina. I'm really going with what we call the NAM here, the North American model. That's where it does call for perhaps a little bit of a dusting or a flurry here and there for most of the area, except for the immediate coastline. Once you get into eastern North Carolina, we can see some accumulations. This seems like the more likely scenario to me. Some of the other models not calling for anything, and that is also possible. Again, it's all about timing. Timing is everything, and we still have about 48 hours before the system unfolds. Plenty of time to watch it. 35 for tonight, 64 for tomorrow. Here's that 7-day forecast. I don't think this is going to be a high impact system, but because you're like me and you want to know if it's going to snow or not on Saturday, it's a highly watched forecast. 48 for Sunday. Look at the overnight lows. There's the cold air that's going to be in place. 28 and 26 for those nights. We may have to modify that a little bit. Take some of the cold air out. I still think it'll be cold, and the moisture it's just going to be a timing issue, John, as you've been saying for the past several days, as we always get into these situations.
But this is new because you've been talking about the moisture more than you have the cold temperatures. Now, this is a new thing from the last forecast you did at 6:30, and that you thought the cold temperature, the cold air would be here, but the moisture was the question. Now it's kind of a little bit different.
It's where they're not just lined, they're not overlapping at just the right time.
Right.
And if that doesn't happen, you just get a cold rain.
Ooh.
That's, I don't know what's worse, having a little
the cold
bit of
rain
snow
is worse.
or cold rain.
Snow would be kind of neat to see.
Yeah.
But cold rain, no.
We'll watch it for the impacts for Sunday morning services
Right.
as well. So
yeah, a lot
stay
of people are
tuned.
going to be keeping an eye on that. All right, Rob, thanks. Valentine's Day, how about some free Valentine kisses?
Oh, goodness.
Thanks to our four-legged friend. Look at that pretty thing right there. Jessica
Adorable.
Taylor Nichol sent us the picture to foxwilmington.com and shared it with us and allowed us to share it with you here on the Hot Shots.
That's great. I love that picture. It looks like an Instagram picture. It looks like it's got a little filter on it. It's pretty.
Good deal. All right, Jessica, thank you. Now, from rising healthcare costs to high deductible insurance premiums to unforeseen accidents or getting sick, many people are left with medical bills they just cannot afford to pay right now. Nikki Bussey says there's a new effort to help out those patients. Nikki?
Yeah, you know, in the past, some have actually turned to bake sales and car washes to help raise funds. But these days, all you need is a computer and a little kindness from strangers.
Born with a rare genetic disorder, little Madden needs multiple surgeries just to stay alive. The costs are overwhelming for his family.
ER visits, medication. He's on a special formula.
Madden's mother's not the only one facing tough calls when it comes to medical cost. Healthcare expenses in the U.S. continue to rise, according to a recent study. And even those with insurance are often strapped with high deductible plans and out-of-pocket expenses.
In 2011, we watched out-of-pocket spending rise for the commercially insured by 4.6%. Those would be things that are like over-the-counter drugs or medical devices that weren't prescribed.
Now thousands are getting help online. Their stories shared on crowdfunding websites where friends, families, and even strangers can help pitch in.
It was so exciting, the first donation that came in, and then by the end of the day, there were so many. It was inspiring.
Crowdfunding has been used in recent years, mostly to finance creative startup projects like video games or movies. Now experts say it's exploding in the nonprofit sector as well.
Our medical illness and healing category is the most popular area of usage.
Suzanne Revel started her campaign after a gymnastics injury left her needing a wheelchair that her insurance company refused to cover.
If I'm going to have to pay for the chair out of pocket, then maybe I could get friends and family members to help donate.
She was shocked by the response, not only from friends and family, but strangers, raising more than $8,000 in just a week. Anyone can set up a campaign for free. Just write your story, add photos or video, and then send out the link to your social media contacts.
As a campaign grows in popularity, other people begin to show their support.
The money is collected through the websites, which take a small cut per transaction. In addition to donations, people can leave messages of support.
To see all of the words of encouragement, that was the biggest part of it. It wasn't just the financial part.
While the sites have systems in place to prevent fraud, it's still possible for scammers to slip through the cracks. More than $11,000 has been raised for Madden so far. His mom says she can't wait to tell him the story someday.
I will tell him that strangers came together and helped save his life.
What a great story, you know. Well, with crowdfunding, the money is available for immediate use, even if you don't reach your goal. John, Michelle?
Well, what a great way to put social media to work.
Oh, absolutely.
For a great, great cause, whether it be for that young man or for the wheelchair for the former gymnast. Good deal. Good story, Nick. Another showdown. First place on the line, Bob Bonner, coming up next.
This is Bob Bonner with your News at 10 Sports.
On this Valentine's Day, high school basketball offering up a matchup where there's definitely no love lost. Hoggard at New Hanover, where the Wildcats had the win to clinch the #2 seed for next week's tournament. A Hoggard win that would give them an undefeated Mid-Eastern Conference season for the first time since 1970. Christian Pavaromo knocking down a three. Next time down the court it is, hello, Joe O'Donnell. Big jumper there, the hoop, the Wildcat lead down to 3. That's when Trayvon Brown kind of flat out took over. Cuts to the hoop, gets the bucket and the foul. And then it is Brown a little bit later. Dribble drive, pulling up, knocking down one from the stripe. The floater falls, and he wasn't done there. The senior played his last game regular season-wise on the court at Brogdon Hall. 16 points on 8 of 8 shooting in the second half. New Hanover wins this one 52-32, clinching the second seed. Hoggard finished this conference play with a 9-1 overall record. So with Hoggard's loss, an Ashley win over visiting Laney would give the Screaming Eagles the 3 seed because Rose lost tonight against New Bern. Picking up in the second, Trey Eller driving, dishing to Rydell Cambridge. Screaming Eagles up 11, then it's Tariq Lane in the block. Down low to Keegan Cizik, Laney down by 8 at that point. And from there on out, Ashley started to kind of running away with it. Tyree Gathright, speaking of running, going off the bank and in. Gathright not done there. This time they give it to him in the corner, a little dribble drive, and nifty lay in there. Ashley rolls in this one, 71-54. Laney has lost 6 straight, so the Screaming Eagles your 3 seed. Laney goes into next week's tournament as the 6. In the girls' game, it was winner take all at Ashley. That's where the Screaming Eagles and Laney met to decide the league title. Good game in the 3rd. Felicity Havens down low for Ashley, turns, dribbles, scores, and the foul after the free throw. Screaming Eagles up by a half dozen, then it's Brianna Edwards on the break, pushing it ahead to Braylon Little. It's an 8-point lead with 2:11 to go in the 3rd, but Laney cuts into the lead. Down 5, Kelly Godtree outside drops in a 3. Godtree had 14, Bucks down 1 heading into the 4th. After showing the outside game, they went inside. Paulette Addison gives Laney its lead with 5:12 remaining, and the Bucks never trailed again. Laney finishes unbeaten in league play after a 49-43 win. Ashley, your 2 seed for next week's tournament. Back at New Hanover, the Wildcats and Hoggard facing off. 3rd place in the league on the line at this one. 3rd quarter action, the Vikings, Sarah Downing. Long range knocking it in. Vikings down by 10 there. The Wildcats come right back. Bucket of their own. Grace Cameron, Alexandria Simmons for the wide open bucket. Hoggard, though, making a game of this one late. Emma Haywood chipping in, knocks in the deuce, but the Wildcats on their home court do hold serve. Samantha Bailey to Sarah Junk here for the layup. New Hanover wins this one 34-28, so the Wildcats are your number 3 seed. At the college level, the UNCW Lady Seahawks not thinking about conference tournaments. Just the win would be nice. Adele Harris's team brought an 8-game losing streak into tonight's home date with the visiting George Mason Patriots. Picking up in the second half, Kelva Atkins driving across the lane, kicking out to Tawana Lee. Good idea. She had 8 points. Seahawks down by 5. George Mason answers on the other end. They get the ball down low to Jana Pickard for the hoop in the paint. Pickard giving the Patriots a nice little cushion there. Then it's Atkins late. Ball again, gives it to Krenisha Garrett, 2 of her 15 points. The hole, though, yet again, too deep for the Seahawks to get out of. They fall 62-52, now 2-20 on the season. The only men's game in the league had Drexel at George Mason. A Drexel win would pull the Dragons even with the Patriots in the standings. Drexel down 2 off the miss, loose ball. Damian Lee ends up with it in the corner, drains it. Dragons up 1. Next trip down the court. The Patriots answer. 3-ball of their own. Corey Edwards gives them the lead, and they never gave it up. Patriots going to win this one 68-62. Hurricanes win tonight as well 3-1. We're back after this.
Still following the breaking news from the top of the newscast, the Carnival cruise ship Triumph has made port in Mobile, Alabama.
There you go. You're seeing a live look as it hits Alabama. What does that sign say? We love you? Maybe it's a Valentine's Day sign.
They say help.
Help get us off of this ship.
The ship should not be named the Triumph.
Yeah. Oh, I know. All right. Well, the 4,300 passengers on board have been without power since Sunday when a fire erupted in the engine room. Passengers have complained about a lot of conditions. Mostly we're talking about the bathroom. But they've been fed, even though there was some hoarding of food, I think, going on there. But
lost power, and they've had, I guess, opportunities to talk to family members intermittently. The Coast Guard came by.
So many jokes we've been saying.
It just has to be absolutely miserable.
Oh, I wouldn't disagree with you. All right, see you back here tomorrow night.
Good night.